Hello, welcome to another episode of Spiritcraft, the podcast to nurture your soul and unleash the magic within. Before we start the episode today, I thought I should tell you more about myself. I'm Marta, or the Spanish Bruja on Instagram, and I am a spiritual life coach, Reiki master, and tarot reader. I worked as a personal trainer for about 6 years before going back to marketing, which was my previous job. And my fitness career started because I wanted to help people who were scared of exercise or the gym or, who were not good at working out and felt out of place. And this had been me before. I used to hate exercise until I realized it was because no one had taken the time to meet me at my level. During that time as a personal trainer, I always focused on helping those who were afraid of using the gym, be it because of a lack of knowledge or experience or people recovering from injuries or anything similar. And I used to say that, although I would work with them too, obviously, but my clients were not the heavy lifters or the bodybuilders or, the gym bunnies, because basically the joy that I felt helping someone overcome their challenges, especially the mental blocks, it just could not compare to any other type of client. Over the years, I realized that many of us, we are aware of what we should be doing, but we all tell ourselves stories to match our reality. So I started focusing on the mental aspects of fitness, on well-being or meditation and all of that. Funnily enough, I started teaching stretch as a class very randomly, and it became my favorite class to teach because I could focus on making people feel better, move better, and even teach them breathing exercises along the way. I wanted to be able to mix my knowledge of fitness and well-being, of coaching, with my esoteric knowledge, tarot, magic rituals, energy healing, and all of that kind of stuff. And so I naturally ended up becoming a spiritual life coach. I basically believe that our minds and our souls are as important as our physical bodies, and most of the time we just don't pay them enough attention in our day-to-day lives. This might sound a little bit, woo-woo to many of you, and that's okay, but, I also approach things with a healthy dose of skepticism. I always try to find the mundane explanation first. And over the years, I've had different experiences which have cemented my belief in the other side in different ways, in energy that I cannot see, and in a deeper connection that we all share with each other and with the earth. And I realize as well that many times the things that we think we believe are actually not what we believe. And I know that might sound confusing, but it will become clearer a bit later today. So through coaching and training clients, I learned that those stories that we tell ourselves, we do so because we either afraid of digging deeper into our psyche or because we have never even questioned why we do the things we do, and we simply just don't actually know how we work or what our motivations are. Why am I telling you all of this? Well, in this episode, we're going to discuss the magic of journaling, what it is in more depth, and different techniques. In last week's episode, I mentioned that it was a technique for self-reflection, so today we're just going to be a bit more in-depth. We're going to cover the different types of journaling, including gratitude, reflective, and dream journaling, and provide practical examples for each. I will also offer practical tips to help you establish a consistent journaling routine, overcome common challenges, and choose the right tools and resources to enhance your practice. So join me as we uncover the magic of journaling and discover how this simple but powerful practice can lead to greater self-discovery, greater personal growth, and overall well-being. The first thing that I want to mention is that journaling has incredible mental health benefits. Have you ever needed to make a decision, and so you wrote down a list of pros and cons? And while, this is not journaling as such, but it's an example of how putting things onto a paper helps us clear our minds so that we can see a situation a bit better and it's easier to keep track of things. When we journal, we put our thoughts and feelings on paper, and this can help with releasing tension. Once we share our worries and our fears, we can gain some perspective and even a sense of relief, which helps with making everything more manageable, as you can imagine. This can help lower our stress levels and make it easier to focus and tackle problems. Journaling can also help with emotional regulation because when we write about emotions, we can identify them and process them. Sometimes it's very hard to express how we feel, so journaling can improve our understanding of our emotional landscape. And by reflecting on experiences and our emotions around those experiences, we can avoid storing unresolved feelings, which helps improve our mood and our emotional stability. So that improves our ability to cope with challenging situations. Journaling can also help reduce some symptoms of anxiety, because by putting our thoughts on paper, it can help us reframe negative thoughts. And when we use some form of structured journaling techniques, we can shift the focus from anxiety-inducing thoughts to some neutral or even positive ones. And not only this reduces symptoms of anxiety, but it can also provide us with better coping mechanisms for anxiety triggers. Some forms of journaling, like expressive writing, can help us understand and contextualize our depressive thoughts and feelings. Because journaling encourages a routine, this can provide a sense of purpose and a sense of accomplishment, if you like, which in turn can help manage some depressive symptoms. And this can lead to increased feelings of control and empowerment over our mental health journey. When we journal regularly, we become more self-aware through introspection, and we gain insight into our behaviors, into our thoughts, into our feelings. So journaling regularly allows us to track patterns over time, and this can reveal triggers and areas for improvement. As you can imagine, this improves our understanding of our strengths and weaknesses, and it improves our decision-making and our problem-solving skills. Writing things down helps consolidate memories and improve recall. So journaling exercises the brain. It keeps it active and engaged, and this results in a sharper memory and enhanced cognitive functions. Journaling encourages mindfulness as well by requiring focus on the present moment and current thoughts. Techniques like mindfulness journaling can directly incorporate mindfulness practices, and this results in a greater presence and engagement in daily activities, as well as reduced feelings of overwhelm and disconnection. If you journal about traumatic or stressful events, this can also provide a cathartic release, helping you to process and move past these experiences. And expressive writing allows for a safe space to confront and work through difficult emotions. This can reduce some symptoms of PTSD and other trauma-related disorders and enhance emotional resilience and recovery. And finally, setting goals and tracking progress through journaling fosters a growth mindset. Reflecting on achievements and setbacks helps us build resilience and adaptability, and this leads to increased motivation and personal fulfillment and a greater sense of purpose and direction in life. All of this that I'm mentioning is based on articles and studies, and everything I will put on the show notes so that you will be able to read everywhere where I found all of this information. So journaling is important for self-discovery and personal growth as well. We live our lives accepting a number of things as truth by assuming we know ourselves and believing or wanting to believe that we are good people, more or less. When any of those things contradicts what we believe, we might become confused or distressed or display other reactions. And we are not even aware of the way our minds work, although, we want to think that we are. Journaling acts as a window to those aspects of ourselves that we are not aware of, that we have hidden, or that we simply don't know how to put into words. Talking to people about our worries can be difficult for many of us for different reasons, and so this makes it so that we end up missing an external point of view, a different perspective that can help us gain clarity about our issues, or to let us know when we're being unreasonable, basically. So when we journal, we give ourselves that opportunity to examine our thoughts and emotions. We write them down, which, when doing so by hand, strengthens the link between our short-term and our long-term memories, helping us cement the thought processes that we're going through. Journaling allows us to express ourselves without external judgment, so that we can analyze our patterns and behaviors at any given time. So it basically presents us with the opportunity to look behind the curtain and see how we really think and feel, especially when using journaling prompts. We can focus on topics we normally don't have time to think about, and when journaling routinely, we are able to look back into our entries and see a progression, a change, or a series of patterns emerging in the way we think and in the way we act. So it's important to be honest with yourself when journaling if you are to truly understand yourself and promote your personal growth. For example, it might give us a reason why we react negatively when someone criticizes us or why we always try to please others. Personally, I have always used writing as a way to explore my own feelings and emotions because, I don't know, for some reason, writing helps get the words out when I'm not able to express them out loud. I really struggle to talk about my emotions out loud. And while I've never really had a regular routine of writing a diary, every time I've had some major event that I needed to unpack, I grabbed a pen and paper and wrote whatever was going on in my head at the time. More recently, I had a counselor suggesting journaling as part of our work together, and I did that daily. And, sometimes it was easier to write stuff than others, and sometimes it was harder than others to read it back to myself. And basically, through journaling regularly, I have been able to process my illness, the job I had at a time, a breakup, financial stress, lots of different things. So obviously, this is not to say that all of those topics I journaled about are fixed now, but it's giving me an understanding on why I do certain things in certain situations. And I also found that I enjoyed using different ways to journal, like collage, for example, as a way of expressing feelings. Not everything had to be structured and rigid, but sometimes I needed a creative way of let out whatever was on my mind when words cannot really express themselves. And now I actually journal often, although not every day. And I have found that journaling helps me be calmer and less stressed about life. And it allows me to empty my mind of the things that worry me and sort of dump them into a paper instead. And it has allowed me to find patterns in the symbology that I've noticed around me during hedge riding or or dream work, or when asking my spiritual guides for a sign. And it's only when I started writing about it that I started noticing the repeated symbols and seeing their importance. I did mention earlier that journaling can be a creative outlet because, you can focus on simply writing about your daily occurrences, or you can use art to express yourself. And journaling can be a way of breaking through that creative block that stops us from making art. For example, if I'm finding it difficult to write in my novel or in my blog or anywhere else, I will write about that block and just do a stream of consciousness piece in my journal. Some people might use a poetry journal or a drawing journal where each day they have to create something about a topic or about what's in front of them or some other random prompt. Basically, there are endless possibilities. I want you to keep an open mind about how you can make journaling your own practice. The next thing I want to talk about is about types of journaling. So one of the most common ones, and is actually one of my favorite types of journaling, is gratitude journaling. For many of us, the negative things in our lives weigh more than the positive ones. For example, we might have 10 positive reviews and likes on social media, and only the one negative comment will be the one that stays on our mind constantly. So gratitude journaling is about being thankful and appreciative of the things that we currently have, the positive experiences that we have lived, and finding the good in our lives. Now, this isn't about ignoring the bad stuff or practicing toxic positivity where we bypass negative thoughts and feelings. Gratitude journaling is about not missing the good things because we're getting too wrapped up in the bad ones instead. When we practice gratitude, we can improve our mood and our mental health, and we might become more optimistic and work on our goals and aspirations. Some examples of gratitude journaling are such as writing about 5 things that you feel grateful for today and why, no matter how small, for example. As a person with chronic illnesses and mental health issues, gratitude journaling is so important for me and my general well-being. I'm not going to lie to you. I also get down and feel negative about things because, I'm human after all. And when that happens, sometimes I can snap out of it very easily, but other times it feels like it's very hard and it's draining and it feels like an uphill battle that I keep losing. And it's in those moments when I remind myself that I am grateful to be alive and able to experience the world around me, or grateful for having a roof over my head to protect me from the elements. I might be grateful for being able to put food on the table, or I might even be grateful for the painful experience I might be going through for helping me learn and teach me resilience or tolerance or anything else that might apply in the moment. And, I know that might sound strange or even impossible to find something to be grateful for in whatever negative situation you might be in. I get it. As I said before, this isn't about ignoring the bad stuff or bypassing your feelings or anything. Keeping a gratitude journal is about accepting that life can be hard sometimes, and that's part of the whole experience of being alive. Another type of journaling that I practice often is reflective journaling. And this is when we write about things so we can analyze our feelings about them, our reactions, our behaviors, beliefs, all of that. So this is where we actively aim to unpack something that has happened to us, to understand why we behave in certain ways or how something might trigger us. And the key for this type of journaling is to not stay on the surface of our thoughts and feelings, but to dive quite a bit deeper and ask ourselves why. Reflective journaling can be used when doing shadow work as part of therapy or counseling, and certainly for personal growth, obviously. And if reflective journaling sounds too difficult right now, but is something you would like to try, I would suggest that you start with some easy topics before delving into the trickier ones. That is, the ones that are more emotionally charged. For example, as I mentioned in a previous episode, why do you shower when you do? Some people love to shower in the evening, but personally, I don't like it. So a morning shower, to me, clears the sleep away and signals my body it's time to start the day. I don't know, have you ever considered why you shower in the morning or in the evening? Or what about why you prefer tea instead of coffee? You can start by simply choosing a topic and asking yourself why you do that, or why you think that, or why you believe that, and then ask why again and again and again until you are satisfied with the answer. And the next day you simply explore a different topic. Over time, you'll find it easier to tackle the deeper topics. Why do you react badly when someone disagrees with you? Or why are you a people pleaser? Why do you feel like you need people around you all the time? Or whatever. But start small, start simple with things that are easier to answer. And you might be very surprised by your own answers. There's one last type of journaling that I want to share with you today, and that is dream journaling. Before you tell me, but I don't dream, let me say, everyone dreams. We all do, and that is a fact. What might happen is that you don't remember your dreams, and that's something that can be improved. Dreaming is our body's way of making sense of the world around us, of the day's events, of feelings and thoughts, and of receiving messages from the spiritual world. And by recording our dreams in a journal, we're not only training ourselves to remember them more easily each time, but we also ensure that we can keep track of repeating patterns and symbols and analyze any hidden messages in our dreams. So keeping track of our dreams also helps us keep tabs on our health, both physical and mental, as sometimes our subconscious might pick up clues that we cannot notice consciously. So, for example, as a child, I had a couple of repeating dreams that happened only when I was getting ill with tonsillitis and had a high temperature. And it came to a point where I would go to bed feeling okay, and I would wake up after these dreams knowing that I was going to be ill very soon, which usually happened within a few hours. So what happened was my body had made its own connection between this sickness and the symbols in those dreams for whichever reason. And they served as some sort of alarm to alert my conscious mind that I was going to be very ill. So you might find that there are repeating symbols in dreams that look very different at first glance. For example, you might always be fighting, be it arguing, having a physical fight, maybe dreaming about being a lawyer in court, or even haggling at a market. Maybe in your dreams you can never reach your goal, whatever it might be at the time, or maybe you always dream of something that makes the dream feel positive and happy, like, I don't know, a blue elephant or whatever, and it appears in different shapes and forms. When you journal about your dreams in as much detail as you can remember, then you'll be able to recall even more details about them and will recognize these patterns and their meanings. If you cannot remember your dreams, there are some things you can do to improve this. The best time to recall your dreams is during the minute after you wake up. Have you ever woken up with that dream vivid in your mind, and by the time you get out of bed it's gone? But because it's definitely happened to me and it's so frustrating. So by keeping a dream journal on your bedside table, you are self-telling your mind that you expect to be able to remember your dream in the morning. You can also tell yourself before you go to sleep that you will remember your dream when you wake up. It's almost like making a plan to dream during the night. So when we sleep, in order to dream, we must enter the REM stage or REM stage, which means rapid eye movement. And this is the stage where the majority of our dreams happen. So we go through all these other stages of sleep. We go through all of these stages of sleep first, and they're called the non-REM ones, or NREM, before we enter REM. if the quality of your sleep is not good, your brain won't be able to enter REM or even the stage 3 of non-REM, which is where our bodies repair ourselves. And so good quality sleep is a must if you want to remember your dreams. So that means the usual no screens before bed, ensuring adequate level of darkness, the right temperature, avoiding noises, distractions, all of these that, we've heard a million times, that they can improve the quality of your sleep. Another thing that you can do to remember your dreams better is to talk to people about your dreams and their dreams, because the more you talk about dreaming, the more prominence it will have in your subconscious mind as well. And talking about your dreams encourages to remember them. It can also be a lot of fun to hear what different people dream about if they're up for it. One thing that I really like doing, but it comes with a bit of a warning, is to create a dream pillow or a dream sachet and fill it with herbs such as lavender, chamomile, or mugwort. And you can then place this sachet under your pillow, and it might help you remember your dreams more clearly and dream more vividly. But please, 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 before using any herbs, just make sure that they're safe to use for your specific circumstances, and always make sure that you are using the herb that you're meant to be using, because many plants look very similar and a lot of them have common or folk names that can be confusing, and always check their botanical name and classification and talk to an expert if unsure. You can also make some dream tea blends, but I am not an expert in this area, so I am not going to suggest anything. But again, just make sure that you know what you're doing, that you talk to an expert, and if you have any medical conditions, that you talk to your doctor as well, because it is very important and you can get very sick otherwise. Say that you went to sleep and you dreamt and then you wake up. So once you wake up, you will want to write your dream as quickly as you can. And for this, don't worry too much about making sense at this stage. Just write what you remember before you forget it. Some people find it helpful to record an audio clip describing the dream, and this is just so that we can get it to paper or on tape before we forget about it. And then you will reread what you wrote or listen to what you recorded and expand on it. And this might be right after you've written it, or maybe while enjoying your morning coffee or later on. But as you reread and rewrite, you will be able to recall more details and situations. And so I will encourage you to see if you can remember any colors, if you dream in color, or any textures, any conversations, any gestures, anything else. Because again, the more you do it, the better you will become at it. Whatever type of journaling that you practice is very helpful to set up a journaling routine. So basically, now that you have all this information on different techniques, you might actually be wondering how to go about journaling itself. And I would say that the most important thing is to actually do it. It's that simple. It's impossible. It's important to find the right time. So basically, you won't be disturbed, because once you get the words flowing, it sucks to have to stop for whatever reason. And trust me, it is very hard to get into that state of flow again. Many experts, and I say this with, quotation marks, recommend journaling either first thing in the morning or last thing before going to bed. And I guess this will depend on the type of journaling you do, among many other things. Because if you are keeping a dream journal, you're going to want to do it in the morning just as you wake up. But if you're journaling to clear your mind up from the day's worries, you might want to do that just before going to sleep. So other than that, just check your schedule and find a slot of time that works for you, and that will make it easier to keep a consistent habit, basically. Personally, I find it easier to journal at home because I like having a quiet space where I can focus on my journaling. But you might find that you prefer doing it on your commute to work or at lunchtime at the office or whatever. Basically, let me repeat that the best time and place is the one that works best for you. So for example, depending on the type of journaling I'm doing, I might want to set the scene by lighting a candle, getting some incense. This is particularly helpful when I want to tackle some difficult topics and work on my shadow, because it sort of signals to my brain and my body that I'm entering a sacred and safe space where I can explore my thoughts, my feelings without any judgment. If I'm writing about my dream first thing in the morning, usually I record what I can remember on the voice app on my phone without any ceremony. I just get as much as I can, half asleep. And later, after I've had a coffee, I will listen to it a couple of times to refresh my memory before writing down a sort of expanded version in my dream journal. But we need to remember that journaling is not a quick fix. And, the best tools and solutions are rarely quick fixes. So for journaling to work, it needs to be consistent. So if you only journal once in a blue moon, you won't be able to dig deep into your emotions, into your thoughts or behaviors, because you won't be used to it. And likely you won't create a habit, so you'll end up forgetting about it. Without that consistent journaling, you won't be able to identify any repeating patterns and symbols that can offer those deeper insights into your psyche. And while it would be ideal to journal every day, I am aware that this might be too much at the beginning, but I still encourage you to do it. It can be as simple as writing one thing you're grateful for each day. And, it doesn't need to be long at first, but forming the habit of writing in your journaling notebook is very important. Obviously, as with any habits or any new practices that we do, it doesn't come without challenges. And, as a writer myself, I understand that sometimes, many times, we will encounter obstacles when trying to keep a journaling routine. And that is all part of the process. The two most common obstacles that I want to talk about are writer's block and lack of motivation. Funnily enough, these are two challenges that I am very familiar with. Just write about anything without judgment. Just start writing to get the ink flowing. Writer's block is that situation when you sit in front of your paper or a screen to write and you come up with nothing, no matter how hard you try. You basically feel like there's a blockage stopping your creativity from flowing. And lack of motivation, on the other hand, is about not even wanting to write, not feeling excited and up for it. But fortunately, both issues can be addressed and fixed more or less easily. So, for example, creating a list of prompts can help with writer's block, because whenever you're feeling like the words simply don't want to come out, you can pick a prompt at random and write about it. If it's still too difficult, just answer the question as briefly as you can in a sentence, and then expand in the next sentence, and then again and again. Because unfortunately, the best way to deal with writer's block is to write. And, it's not about forcing yourself to write, because it might be tempting to simply write that you don't know what to write about and over again. But this is going to frustrate you and is going to cement that feeling that you have nothing to write about. So instead, choose one thing you're grateful for, no matter how small, and expand on it, or anything from a list of prompts that you've created or from the internet. Because having a routine and a mood might help with writer's block as well. And every writer, this is some sort of like caveat, every writer deals with writer's block at some point, and even best-selling authors. It just happens sometimes, and even when you think you're doing great, it will still happen at some point in the future. That is okay, because getting a routine is easy. Just find the times that works for you and make it an appointment with yourself that you cannot cancel. The same for the place, but if you want to choose a specific place to journal, you can set the mood and it might become easier to. So for example, you can choose a specific tea blend, specific incense scent, and light a candle. And that whenever those steps are performed in the same way, like a ritual, you are signaling your brain that it's time to write in your journal. So it's not going to fix writer's block right away, but it's going to help overcome this block a bit more easily. Now, writer's block is a thing, but lack of motivation is actually quite a difficult challenge to overcome. Usually, we become demotivated because either we don't have a clear goal, or we set goals that are too difficult or too easy, or because something else is going on, like mental health issues. And if that is the case, then obviously you will need to address those issues first, maybe with the help of a counselor or of any other mental health professional. When you start your journaling practice, it will help to set clear goals. Why do you want to journal in the first place? These goals can change over time, okay? But it's good to have something to aim for. Are you trying to improve your self-esteem, or to understand yourself better, to change some negative thought patterns? Whichever your goal, write it down in your journal so you can refer back to it. I'd say as well, always make sure that your goals are not out of reach. Remember the famous SMART goals, but make them challenging enough so that you're a bit excited to work on achieving them. If they're way too easy, then you're not going to get motivated to sort of like work for them. In this case, when everything else fails, you can always try to force yourself to do it. And, remember that solution from earlier, answer a prompt with a sentence and then expand on it. That also can work here. If you're anything like me, you might struggle with starting tasks. So that solution might still not work for you because you might still not be able to get started. So in that case, having an accountability partner can do wonders. Someone that you can text to tell them that you're struggling to journal, and they can lovingly kick your behind to get you going. And if you need help finding an accountability partner, or you would like me to help you in the beginning, you just have to get in touch and I'll do my best to help as availability allows. The last part of this episode about journaling is about talking about tools and other resources that we might use. And the first thing I want to say is that you don't need any fancy notebook for journaling. Many times, 99% of the times, fancy notebooks end up unused because we feel paralyzed about ruining them. So any notebook will do. Now, my personal preference are the moleskin style notebooks, the A size one, the A5 size one, which are I normally like them dotted or plain and with a soft cover. And that's the one I use for my mental health, the one I use for writing and collage journaling. And then I have a separate journal for dream journaling, which is a similar size. And obviously this one I keep it near my bed, so I have the two different ones. Before I started using notebooks, like physical notebooks, I used Google Docs, but I found that writing by hand helped me connect with my inner thoughts better. And, I was able to process my emotions more easily than typing them on a screen. So see what works for you. Although there are many studies that confirm that handwriting helps us remember things better. Other than that, some people enjoy using apps like Evernote, Notion, GoodNotes, or even the Notes app on your phone. The good thing about apps is that they're very handy. If you rather journal on the go and you don't want to carry a notebook around, then you can always, get your phone out and type whatever when the moment arises. So that was a long episode, I feel. But just to summarize a little bit, journaling offers a lot of benefits for mental health, for self-discovery, creative expression, and it makes problems more manageable because it helps also reduce stress levels a bit. It helps us with emotional regulation because it allows us to identify and process our emotions. And then if we use structured journaling techniques, it can help reframe negative thoughts or reduce symptoms of anxiety, offer better coping mechanisms, lots of benefits. Journaling also fosters self-awareness, and it does this through introspection. So it helps to track patterns over time and improve decision-making, problem-solving skills. And when we do it regularly, journaling also enhances cognitive functions by consolidating memories and encouraging mindfulness, leading to, a sharper memory, basically. And we become more present in our day-to-day activities. It can also help, provide some space, a safe space to process traumatic events. And finally, it will support your personal growth because it will help you reveal hidden aspects of yourself and, again, promote that introspection. As you can see, journaling is a very powerful practice for self-discovery, for personal growth, for mental well-being. So I will encourage you to start or continue your journaling practice. I think I've asked you already in previous episodes to write about 5 things that you feel grateful for. So if this is the first time that you're trying journaling, that is a good prompt as any. Otherwise, choose something from your life, say, for example, showering in the morning or in the evening, or tea or coffee or whatever, and figure out the reason why you do it that way. And obviously, if you would like to, I would love to see your responses, which you can send. If you're listening through Spotify, you can send as a voice note, and you can also send by email if you want to. I would definitely love to hear about your journaling experiences if you would like to share with me. That is it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I will be back next week with another episode on how we can use different tools for self-reflection and personal growth, but I'm going to leave that a little bit as a secret. And I hope that I will see you there. And remember, you can follow me on social media, you can sign up for my newsletter, and everything will be written in the show notes, as well as any links with the data for today's episode. Thank you very much and have a beautiful week.